What's going on in your society, in our society?
It's a trap!
In our societies, in our global village. So what's really going on here? Let's dive into the chaos and see if we can make sense of it in my podcast. What's going on? A lot going on, especially here in Canada. Our Hindu diaspora is quite concerned and also alarmed by the incidences we are witnessing, we are experiencing. Joining me today, Rishabh Saraswat. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tahir, for inviting.
Today, along with other community leaders, you guys met Peel police officials. So what's going on there? In fact, tell us and enlighten our audience.
Tahir, as you mentioned about the concerns of the community, that is exactly the reason we met Peel police. Chief Nish was kind enough to be there in that meeting with the 7 or 8 deputy staff being present there. So they definitely understand the gravity of the situation. And it's moved beyond the concern. Community is traumatized, and this message was given in that meeting loud and clear that Peel police needs to work on rebuilding the trust with the Canadian Hindus, especially in the Peel region. So in that sense, the meeting was very successful. In terms of steps taken by Peel police, we had 5, 6, 7 point agenda. There are few of the steps they immediately in the meeting itself agreed to. So I can say that they have agreed to create a special investigative unit to investigate partially and objectively the events of November 3 and November 4, where they are interested to have community leaders, Hindu community members, engage with them, help them investigate, and have open dialogue. So that is first win from that regard. There are other agenda included. We have seen for a long period of time that many police organizations across Canada, they do their own community outreach efforts in one way or the other. Peel police does it in the form of consultative committee. And its website says that they have consultative committees for Black, Indigenous, LGBTQ, Sikh, and Muslim communities. We raised the point that there should be, now time has come, not that we have not been reaching out earlier. Earlier also our demands have been met with not much moving on beyond some conversation going on. But here this time, first they told us that that model has been dissolved. Maybe their website needs to be updated to tell the community about it. Now most work has been done through the diversity route, and there will be a concerned effort to create a cross-functional service team which will be designed for different units and different officers tailoring for the community safety services. In that regard, they will be moving forward. What shape it will take, what name it will have is for community to be see. And this is a work in progress, so we can't tell that this is the exact step which is finalized, but the movement is happening. Other thing we raised very vehemently about that this is not just one-time incident we are talking about. This is a straw which broke camel's back, proverbial way. This is an ongoing issue. Attacks on Hindus and rising Hinduphobia in terms of the hate speech against Hindus, hate crimes against Hindus, racially motivated attacks, and specifically Hinduphobic attacks. Hinduphobic attacks against the temples, Kohna have been raising voice about this for now at least 3 years. We have met numerous lawmakers, departments, government agencies, their offices. Our government reach out team has done many meetings with them. And our approach is very simple. We educate about the Hinduphobia, what are the elements of Hinduphobia, how is it being reflected in Canada, what are the signs of it to be covered, because there are researchers who have been working for this. For example, National Contagion Research Institute works closely and they do have produced reports of the online Hinduphobia and Khalistani bots. And as released today, the new report, which has just come out 2 hours before, about how diversity, equity and inclusion teams in various across the board have been weaponized to get the Hinduphobic agendas done by some activist groups. So those online reports, those reports are important because they tell us what is coming next. And almost unfailingly, the online attacks is always followed up by the physical harm or the real world attack on the community. That data doesn't lie, that it happens over and over again. So we have been talking about this with the lawmakers for last 3 years. But still, as you see, there is not much movement has happened, except the conversation just goes on and on. There is a email chains keep going on, and bureaucratic things keep going on. But hopefully after this as we were screaming about, that will they wake up the day that somebody will get harmed? Now they see that community is getting harmed, community is traumatized, the trust has been lost. I hope that all the levels of the government, lawmakers, law enforcement, every one of them take cognizance of that and work with the community to solve this issue, all these issues collectively. So yes, Peel Police meeting has been successful in that regard, and that's what's going on.
Yes, no, it's very important. Good to hear all your views. You mentioned that the trust has been broken due to certain incidences, especially the November 3rd incident, attack on devotees outside, actually inside Hindu Sabha Mandir. And allegedly a police officer was also captured in social media clips that he was involved, and then we heard the news he was suspended sort of. But then we heard the news he got reinstated. Not sure about that. So did you guys talk about that mistrust?
We were very clear about communicating that community is feeling there is a 2-tier policing in Canada. They heard it. It was very interesting that they accepted that charge in a way by saying that we understand it. Even our own police officers who are Hindus, they themselves are feeling that. Going further, they said that there are officers who themselves feel threatened. Interestingly, when we raised the point of doxing, they said that their own officers have been doxed and being attacked, to the extent that police has been attacked with a petrol bomb, some of the officers. So they definitely know, and I understand there is a lot of political pressuring and community balancing they want to do, but when it is reaching to their own house, hopefully they will wake up now. So yes, 2-tier policing issue was mentioned. Regarding Sohi, we made it clear, it's not that we want to demand that, okay, this is the exact step you take. Because police itself, as Police Chief Nish himself said today, that if I want to fire someone today, I can't do that. He said that there is a whole process to do that and investigate and stuff like this. That's his direct words, that I cannot fire anyone. That demand was made that, that what is seen as a suspension was seen as a weak effort. I'm not sure about the reports of reinstating, because Chief Police did not confirm any side of that. He just commented that an investigation is still ongoing, and but we raised very prominently that he was spotted online because of the coverage this incident got. Thankfully, people were able to identify and put that there, because this is not the first time he did that. He has been pictured online several times before being associated with that, and but that is just an evidence which is out there. There might be more. So we raised the point of extremist infiltrations being inside the police. Is there any process to do that? So we have to look for their response further for that. What is their response? It's not very clear. Of course, they just talked about, oh, we are investigating and we will try to find out. But in that regard, we didn't hear any concrete action. But Peel Police is not the only place to go. We can maybe after that conversation, it's important to start the conversation with Peel Police. Then there are other routes, like we can go for emboundsment, we can go for the LSA complaints if something is. So you need to understand for the community that a lot of times these fights are very long term. It goes on for a long period of time, where before the truth comes out, before the investigation is over, after, and all the moving pieces and are on the table, and that's where we find out everything. So there are still investigations going on. But in terms of resources, they have multiplied their resources manifold from many police services because of this incident, and their recognition that trust has been broken, and not from in their own words, not from one side. It's coming from the other side also, interestingly, because they see the Khalistani agitators being charged and being arrested, and their demand is okay from their false narrative that there are all other people, try to circulate a lot of misinformation about how students who were trying to disperse from there, they were trying to create ruckus around it. That's untrue. That's a misinformation, a lot of disinformation around that. For example, there was one person who came at the time of the end of our protest at 7 p.m. and he, being a volunteer with them, they started to volunteer to manage the traffic, because being a good citizen, that's what you do. When you see outside a lot of people, 6,000 people getting out of the temple at one point, it is a traffic problem, they can be problems there, so they try to manage that. But on the wrong side, a car driving recklessly in a very high speed came to the crowd and appeared that they might be running over the people. Of course, the young students and a lot of the crowds, they got really emotional about that, because before that there was another attack already had happened. I don't know what kind of noxious substance was. It might be a bear spray or pepper spray or something was sprayed on 3 and 4 or 5 people, including a senior citizen who was very heavily damaged his eyes, and he had to be taken to the ER for that. So in that environment, you see another car coming up and they try to run them over, or that too on the wrong side of the road recklessly. They definitely try to alarm them by tapping on the car. That footage, and after that some of the students getting angry about why cars are still allowed to pass through that, to give that message. So that went out as, oh, that students are doing this, but all the precursor to that context and everything was just not told about. So Peel Police is feeling pressure from the many sides. That is for the truth. And of course, then there are lawmakers who play their game of trying to balance everything by playing, oh, you a good boy, you did that statement, you did that statement, I will just take the credit all myself. So all that is under play, but there is development out there.
You just mentioned that incident. Based on that incident, I remember you got lots of heat from the opponents, and they even tweeted against you, your organization, the Coalition of Hindus of North America. Kona is doing fantastic work in terms of creating awareness, in terms of defending communities' rights, in terms of keeping our beautiful country, Canada, safe. So how do you take that kind of a pressure and move forward?
It's unfortunate that, first of all, I don't want to make it personal. It's unfortunate that community leaders have to be named in a way and get a victim of the doxing and their personal information getting out, all the kinds of threats. It's unfortunate, but this is not something new. Khalistani extremists have been doing this and record now since 80s. There is a laundry list of journalists who have been attacked, one of them even being killed by this, and some of them even being like almost, they fortunately they recovered from the attack which happened. The lawmakers have not been spared, from the council members up to the premier, to, if you go back to India, to the chief minister, to the prime minister of India. So tell me which community they have not attacked. And it's very interesting, they use all kind of tactics. There have been numerous lawsuits against one of the few journalists in Canada who have done extensive work in exposing how Khalistani extremists operate, including Terry Milewski. It is unfortunate. And Kona is trying to do Hindu advocacy. That's the whole point. We are just making noise about Hinduphobia. Now, I would not call that extremist group belonging to any community. The reason is, they may say that they associate with it because we communicate with the community members maybe more than they do. For example, that consulate meeting, more than 80% of the participants and beneficiaries of that community event were Sikhs.
And Sikhs are our part.
Yeah.
Sikhs are our actually part and parcel.
Yes. It's a family.
Yes.
There are family relations. There are some families where there is one same family, Sikh and Hindus are there. Identities are so intertwined. And even the communities where they are living, where in the Brampton and Mississauga area, there is no Sikh area or Hindu area. There is a Hindus and Sikh live together harmoniously. Even now, this message is put out that, oh, there is some sort of wedge going on between community. Nothing like that. You go to any businesses, establishment, everybody is just having happy marrying, having good time, eating out, having good fun. You go to the Dashera festival in Hindu Sabha temple, 40,000 people come there. Almost close to 20 to 30,000 community members are Sikh. The community Hindu Sabha temple attendees are like more than 60% are Sikhs. Same in the Lakshmi Narayan temple. So when they speak about Hindu issue, we are also speaking about issues related to Sikhs. They are also getting harmed by this rhetoric and this all. And it's very important to understand that everybody has a right to peacefully protest and put their demands, whatever they might be. We are against the Hinduphobic imagery, slogans, hate crimes, hate speech. I know there is nothing stops in Canada to do hate speech, anymore, and more. So, no, funnily in Canada, we are too polite to actually even catch the perpetrators of hate crime at this point. Hate speech is too far. So, but still, we do our part. We make noise about that. So, and result of that is out there. My name was put out, and of course, it was frightening. It was, I felt vulnerable. My family felt traumatized, and it's unfortunate, but that's how, community leaders unfortunately have to go through. But we work for this cause because we are passionate about the Hindu community's interests. And that's their tactic, so that if they silence me, that maybe they will be able to silence somebody else. But that is the time for community to step up. And I want to congratulate all the community members and thank you for all the messages and support I got from the community is also overwhelming, including Sikh community members. So there might have gone one message and few threat calls and a few messages and this stuff like that, but I see so many community members also standing up behind it. And that's the message community also needs to learn. When you will speak up for your rights, of course there will be people who will be trying to deny your rights, take it away from you, but there will be community which will be standing with you as well. and that is more important. So I look for the positive side that we are at least moving forward to get Hindu communities' rights in the way they should, what they deserve. We are tax-paying community members. We are, I know I would not use like model minority trope, but it's still very peace-loving community members, and stats are out there, and do we deserve the respect? Unfortunately, today in today's Canada, respect is equal to your nuisance value, but unfortunately, that's how it is. This is not how it should be. The peaceful community, there should not be a point where a peaceful community is forced to participate in the nuisance value kind of a narrative so that they are heard. In a fair world, everybody has got a right and human rights which should be respected.
So as the leader of Kohana, you are investing your time for community, and you are just volunteering this. It's not kind of a paid position. You sacrifice your family commitment, you sacrifice your work, you sacrifice many things. So what drives you personally doing this?
Something might be wrong inside me, I don't know. But it is the drive for the justice.
Yes.
It is drive for, see, I firmly believe that from the experiential and from the spiritual understanding, that Hinduism is the force of good in the world. And it is so unfair to paint it negative from academia, from textbooks, to media, to the popular perception, to the living room chatters, to university chatter room, to everybody's perception. It's so unfair, especially for our children. What kind of world we are leaving them to, for them to be forced to be dissociated from their last names, from their culture, from their community, which gives them so much peace and such a reason to be alive. And all we bring to the community is colors, joys, taste, and peace in many forms. For that force of good to be diminished, any reasonable person and any person who would be looking for justice would not tolerate that. I know a lot of people make noise about it. I am a fan of Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga philosophy. So we believe in putting that to action. So every day we try to put that thing to action. What is the one thing we can achieve today and what do about it? So that is what drives, maybe Swami Vivekananda, our teachings, what our ancestors did definitely is unparalleled. We are doing nothing in front of them. We live in a very comfortable life in a really one of the greatest country in the world. Canada is a really beautiful country. All I have met is one of the most loving, kind, welcoming people in Canada. And if for our children, we don't leave a world which is, they can be free to be a Hindu as an identity and a Canadian. Nothing should be, this should not be a conflict, because they are complementary to each other. Canadian values are Hindu values. Loving everybody, being accepting, real inclusivity. If you want to learn about inclusivity, what more than going for the Hinduism where philosophy, even Hindu philosophy is multifold. So that's all I could say drives for the work we want to do.
Oh, absolutely. I can understand your activism is based on what someone has said. Activism is a rent for living on this planet.
Beautiful.
So I can.
You said that?
No. I don't remember the philosopher who said that.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. So I can see Hindu activism going on for the past couple of years because Hindus are targets. So do you see our Hindu community more active in recent years? Because we didn't see, this sort of situation, I would say about 8 years back, 7 years back, but especially during the past 4 or 5 years. community is more active, and especially in the wake of what's going on during the past 2 months, for instance, community really got shaken. So do you think those are the reasons that community is now more aware of in terms combating hate and Hinduphobia?
I feel that we need to understand how a community behaves is a lot because of their history. This is a community reeling through the effects of colonization still. And if you look at our parents' generation, what was their focus? Keep your head down, you study, you get that job, and just don't rock the boat and be happy and merry. And now next generation is realizing what has that given us. They're looking at history, that there have been so many places where we did exactly the same thing. Everything was taken away from us in a minute, right? From Idi Amin to your birthplace to so many other places where, no matter how long a history we have been.
Yes.
There is no Sindhi identity left anymore. Yeah. There are so many other places. So I know there is a time for a community, but of course there is preference of the earlier generation was rightfully so to be coming out of that trauma of genocide of thousands of years, 1,000 of years, 700 years of more precisely, and poverty, abject poverty, and all those trauma, they were trying to come out of it. Now, no generation are more comfortable thinking about their rights and speaking up about it. And also, academic Hinduphobia starting from the Indology departments, which started as a extension of the church's activities. They wanted to study, all the reverends were the professors because all they wanted to study Hinduism is for the reason of dismantling Hinduism. And as you mentioned 4 years back, that's what we see reflection of that calls to dismantle Hinduism were given out open. So that definitely has shaken the community. And that was the time our leader Nikunj Trivedi ji took a call to make an organization where like-minded community members come together and do something about it. That's where our journey started at the COVID time. And our aim was very clear, and it is the way Kohna operates is a little different, is that we are not looking for the leaders to actually be included or something. Because this is a grassroots effort to make community leaders from the grassroots also. There's no lack of talent out there. And there's no lack of people who are committed to work on the issues. We identify the issues and we start working on them. So that's what we focused on, start working. And of course, you see the culmination of that, the years of this negative propaganda against Hinduism started to translate from university to the streets. And as you were also there in yesterday's NCRI's presentation, where it was revealed that how it's almost always is not starting from the community to going, it's starting from universities to outside in the community. So there is a lot of investment has been done over the years intellectually and infrastructurally to perpetuate Hinduphobia. And that is the direct results of that people have started to see and realize that it is so wrong. Canada's biggest school board had audacity to profile Hindu kids in the name of their dietary choices, in the choices of what their last name, that is not even their choice, like what my last name is, based on their deities they worship. And there's a whole laundry list of things out there. Skin color. You would think that this list is somewhere from 18th century and 19th century school board releasing that these people are. And you see that those mechanisms are so similar of calling people like Hindu Brahmanism virus, insects, vermile, all kinds of that. You see the same Nazi propaganda style things coming out of the mouths of academicians. That's very, very alarming. And and gets regurgitated by so-called activists. Now we live in Canada, where apparently so many extremists, people who have been convicted of blowing airplanes are also activists. So the lines are so blurred here in Canada. But so the DEI activists is trying to use that to perpetuate that Hinduphobia. An attack is now on our children. So we see, so all efforts are made so to be dissociated with Hinduism. So much so that we started to listen from the university going students that they are scared to talk about Hinduism and be openly Hindu in any forum at all. Of course, there is a slight improvement in last 2 years after Kona and Hindu Students Council and Kona Youth Action Networks and other many community organizations efforts, including Hindu Forum Canada and other community organizations, everybody together working on this cause. So there has been efforts to quell that, and it, to an extent, in some cases it's been successful. So in some cases, okay, they still stronghold. You can't go anything about allegiance to this, allegiance to that. So that kind of, until you have allegiance to this group and that group, you cannot do anything, and all that is going on. So all those issues coming together, more and more need to work on these issues together and understand that this is a community which, first of all, going back to the same point of post-colonial trauma, and it reflects in lot of self-censoring. That model minority tag comes with a lot of baggage that don't rock the boat, and whatever happens, and we still see, even after so many reports, the stats are still like 1 hate crime reported or 2 hate crime reported. People don't go out to report hate crimes. That's an issue. So community needs to work on that. Enough to self-censor yourself. Things happen, you need to report, you need to be educated. That's what we are working on. So I know it looks like that there is a lot happening, but we are still miles and miles behind. We're just starting. There is still a lot of, I will give you an example. In California last year, they started a dedicated non-emergency hate crime reporting line, and in 1 year, they were able to find that Hindu-phobic incidents are second most reported after anti-Semitism. You compare that to the reports in Toronto Police and Peel Police. 1 report in Toronto Police in 2023, that too which we took initiative to get through OCAD University. So if, first of all, law enforcement is more proactive in educating the community that these are the facilities to be used by you, please use that, report that, and also community to come forward and don't be scared about anything. Everyone has human rights. You need to talk about your rights. You take it so much, and I know hate speech is taken so lightly in everywhere now with the social media. People start to think that hate crime is also okay. No, hate crime is not okay. You need to make noise about it and report that. So yes, we have started to work on that, and community has started to realize, but there is a lot to be done, and community to build the infrastructure, build the institutions, and build the mechanisms to ensure their rights are preserved in Canada.
You just mentioned about rising Hinduphobia in academia. I have met many Hindu students, some are children of my good friends. They are so traumatized. And, even some other community members try to sort of convert them into other religion. And some happen to be converted. I know some of the families, some of the kids. So now the students are, sort of resisting, and they are saying, no, respect us, give us our space. And your organization is associated with youth and young people, student organizations. So personally, I see a lot going on in our student community, Hindu student community, in terms of defending themselves, in terms of creating their own space. What is your observation in that regard precisely?
It's such an emotional topic because every student, every second generation person I have talked to, I have not met one person who doesn't go through identity crisis in Canada. And peer pressure is unbelievable. And you rightly said that some of the examples you quoted are right. Lot of time, our family members, the mechanisms they understand, through that, they communicate in that manner. First of all, there is a need to have a communication with the Hindu kids in a way they are heard. Number one thing, there is communication is not happening. Second thing, asserting your identity as a Hindu is crime. That's why they are getting asserting. It's happening because they are being told that Hinduphobia is not real because Hindus were never persecuted based on their identity. Lie, historic lie. And they are framed in a manner that if you don't participate in the X or Y movement, you are amoral, your faith is immoral, and your philosophy. So the framing is moral question. They are not coming from that, oh, if you participated, then you are a good X religion or Y religion. They are saying, if you are not participating in my activism, then you are immoral. Nobody, and that same thing is, if you, there is a lot of baggage with the Caucasian Canadians. They have a lot of guilt, so they do try to make an extra effort to assimilate. And the history of Christo-colonial North American Western foundation is the way that they have developed a lens to look at the world, which mostly can be divided into left versus right? That may not be the indigenous view of looking at the world, but that is looked at it, and first of all, that is imposed on every structure, from religion to nationality to every level of your identity. So problem starts to happen first of all there. Now, Hinduism has this unique advantage of intermingling in every structure of being compatible based on the Deshkal Paristhiti. But that also is used against you, that if because you are you have this desire to be over assimilate, then maybe it's better for you to completely become us. Now here, community like our students don't understand that no matter how you try, you will never beat them. You will always be useful for other persons. So these things are need to be told to those people, those young children. They need to have a real conversation with them where they are heard. Their identity crisis is understood. Because a lot of parents still don't understand that every one of their kids are code switching. They speak in they see a different world inside, they see a different world outside. They have to assimilate, there is no other way. And here we are, some of the parents, what they are trying to do, you only believe in this line of thinking and this is the only truth. This is never Hinduism. Hinduism about like absolute truth is that we are about inclusivity in a way that we make somebody. And so that number one way is to educate community about the real essence of Hinduism. Inclusivity. That teaching itself in the beginning can be very helpful. I know the earlier generation's purpose was like we need to assimilate because we want to be like them, because this framing is that West is successful because they are Christian, and and the other communities are not because they are not. That kind of framing, that institutional religious phobia is always there. That's the second aspect of it. More importantly, after the point of assimilation and peer pressure comes in the academic historical denial of the Hindu persecution. That education is very important. And now that education is not for that, like you said, truth and reconciliation is very important phrase in Canada. This wedge is used because if you tell whole truth, then they will become hateful. No. Like, which Indian or Hindu person doesn't know about the British history? Have you seen any Hindu person going out and trying to actually harm any British personnel? No. We do really great friends, and if you go to UK, there is a large thriving Hindu diaspora which lives very peacefully with the British community. So this fear of you will tell the real truth to the, for example, Islamic colonization of India, or the barbaric persecution in the Goa, what happened, or the Portuguese, persecution of Hindus, that will be somehow, create some sort of a problem. No, truth is told so that you can recover from the trauma. More you will lie about your past, more you will still living in the delusion. You will never be able to understand what you are. If you don't know where you're coming from, how will you know where you are going? So that assimilation is not right. That is fake. That is trying to be something else. That is just creating another, as in your words, Gangadin, right? So that's not the goal. So that number one is the reason. So the answers to that are, we do our efforts. We have our sister organization we created called Hindu Parents Network. We do middle school level children classes called Beautiful Tree. Now we recognize that there are Bal Vihar, there are other organizations who focus on the spiritual training and other things. But here, our agenda is very specific. There are social sciences which have been weaponized against Hindus, to be able to expose children to the research done by the researchers, which gives the real narrative about the persecution of Hindus. They understand that, and what are the ways they were doing, what are the methods of doing them, and what are the tools they use. So next time when children go out there and they are subjected to they are alert. Okay, this is what's happening. Half the time they don't even know. They say, oh, this is a very nice person. He's being really kind to me. My whole family, my dad doesn't talk that nicely to me. How nicely he's talking to me, and he thinks that he's doing such a hugging me and giving me all those sweets. That will be the all life. And when they get in, then they realize that they are actually you become a tool. That these are the lines given to you. You cannot speak up, because there is a really beautiful podcast I would recommend everybody, that not from my organization, I'm just giving it out there, but still, Indu Viswanathan ji did, where she did a two-part interview of a victim of a Hindu kid, how he was converted and he came back. Listen to those stories, and it's not just that, the other organizations are also working to get those stories out, so that people can understand what are the mechanisms used. But it's not that extreme only. There are various levels of that. Everybody is affected in some way or the other. So only answer to that is to stand up, be educated, educating your kids, use those resources and tools available by advocacy organizations to be educated. And unfortunately, this is the situation we are in. Hope it was not there, but this is the fight, and everybody has to recognize, do all our efforts to be educated. Educated in the way students understand, educated in the way parents should communicate the way. Of course, if a lot of times when there are candid conversations inside the homes. Now, trauma reflects in many ways. Not every way trauma is reflected is very articulate. But that doesn't mean that inarticulate ways the trauma is reflected has less value. But your children don't know the context. And because they not knowing the context, they will start believing that their own family members are bigoted, which is not the case. So that's why those educations are important, and to be able to learn and counter these narrative effectively. Educate, educate, educate.
Rishabh ji, you are one of those fellows with whom I can converse hours and hours.
Thank you.
You are very enlightened, very well informed, and you really have great awareness of contemporary issues. We will keep talking in coming days, and I would also request you to start your own podcast down the road for our platform. And
now we are talking.
Yes. But in the end, in our today's conversations, I would like to ask you, how would you like to conclude our today's podcast, our today's conversation?
See, there is a great deal of misinformation out there, and how to counter misinformation, how to counter hate crime is the every community members should be educated about. One point I want to make viewers very aware about: your WhatsApp forwards are not going to do anything. Your angry tweets are not going to do anything. What will work more is one email you can write to your lawmaker. Believe me not, whenever we talk to lawmakers as our government reach out efforts, we have not met one lawmaker who doesn't say this, that you are the first one who has been talking to us about this issue. You're making this point. So even after we are making so much noise on the social media, we are not reaching out to the person we should reach out to. So a lot of times, and it's a very interesting, I was listening to California-based university's diversity officer and the divestment, like a finance officer. And there is a lot of protests were happening about divestment and everything. So they were asked that, what did you do about it? And they're like, about what? About the protests which are happening. I'm not aware about them. I mean, of course they have seen it. And then what they did was, okay, it's a protest happening, I will go and talk to them. So he went there and he started talking to those protesters. And he told them, I am the person you are raising this question about in all your placards and everything. Did you reach out to my office? No. But I am here. Tell me, what are your demands? And they were blank. All they know were the slogans and the songs and everything, and they had nothing to communicate. Now, 3 months down the line, that officer and those protesters sit down at the table again, and they say, I recognize you, I gave you my number, you still did not reach out to me, but you were doing protest for 3 months now. So what did you do? So that is sometimes the gap. Sometimes all it takes is for you to reach out to your lawmakers, and you will be surprised how many times our lawmakers from all three levels of government, from the provincial to the city council to the federal, all three of them, and senators and all our law enforcement, you will be surprised how many times they are willing to have a conversation with you. All they are looking for, and so many times we are working in the bad faith that, okay, they don't want to listen. Try. So, and if you have any difficulty in that, we do our own part. After this, we launched an email campaign, and that email campaign, all it needs is to go there, click on there, sign that, and it will go to, from your, based on the area you live in, all three levels of government and the concerned authorities. So that will take, and also, second most important point, you need to ask tough questions to your community leaders also. Lot of times leaders are also, not that they don't want to work for the community. They themselves are not being given the right sentiments of the community.
And not well trained as well.
Yeah, that is the case as well. That's very important. They are they might be very well trained in terms of their own expertise. For example, Hindu temples, they have a very important role to play. But lot of time, lawmakers and our community members in some cases misunderstand that Hinduism operates in a different manner than the Abrahamic faiths in a lot of degrees. And a lot of times, some people mention me that, oh, we are not united, that we are not going to. I see it as our strength that we are not following somebody or some command like a sheep. Everybody has still our head intact and we know what decision to make. That's a strength. So it's good, but still the community leaders still have value, and a lot of time lawmakers think if I will be talking to one community leader and convincing them of something, then it is going to Hindu whole community, but that's not the case. So you need to go out, talk to your community leaders and ask tough questions that what are you doing in these cases where we are getting so much. That's the kind of things we are feeling. Our children are feeling about that. Now they will give answer, oh, we are doing running classes and nothing. No, what we are doing in the reaching out to the authorities. Are you representing that? Have you registered yourself to vote? Hindu communities, voting, like electoral participation is embarrassingly low. So when you increase your electoral participation, lawmakers will take you seriously. So real action items are these. send an email to your lawmakers, register yourself to vote, go out, reach out to lawmakers and talk to them. And if you like our work, then you can join Kona.
Thank you very much, Rishabh ji, for your candid views as well as your wonderful, fantastic conversation with me today.
Thank you so much, Tahir ji, for giving the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Viewers, what's going on? A lot going on. As Rishabh ji mentioned, you click the right button and you can make a difference. Thank you very much for watching my conversation with Rishabh Saraswat.
Subscribe Tag TV YouTube channel and press the notification button.